Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Broadway Jets YouTube channel. You'll know me from Twitter as NYJ Mike. I'm joined as always by the master of receipts, NYJ Matt. And Matt, the Jets lose a very frustrating game, 23-20, to the Bills to fall to 2-4. But then you wake up on Tuesday morning and they trade for Davante Adams, Aaron Rodgers' old friend. So a lot to discuss, Matt. A lot to discuss.
Yeah, we'll use this as a State of the Union, almost like the 1/3 of the way through the year. Let's break it down. There's a lot to talk about. But obviously, let's start with the game. We'll get to Devante. Let's start with the game. If you are here, we are on the road to 2,000 subscribers. So go ahead, hit subscribe.
We sure are.
Mike, we were both at the game. We go to almost every game. I don't remember feeling as horrible as I did leaving that stadium last night. And before you get anything else, you look at what they can control, like control the controllables. 2 missed field goals, touchdown called back, another drive where Brees got tackled at the 5, Garrett catchable ball in the end zone, don't land on the fumble from Josh Allen. So you look at those things in a vacuum and you say, oh, the Jets left 15 points out there. And I'll say this, Mike, nobody wants to hear anybody complain about the officiating. The refs were bad on both sides of the ball, but nobody likes to leave a game feeling that the story of that moment was written by 9 imbeciles. And again, it impacts both ways. Roughing the passer call bad, but Jesus Christ, they insert themselves in every single game. And these aren't valedictorians. They are the kids in the back of the class picking their nose, drawing dicks in yearbooks. Like they're the worst of us, and I hate that they had such an impact on the game that they did.
Yeah, Matt, leaving the stadium last night is one of the closest you come to just being like, what are we doing? And it's not because of the Jets. You can lose football games. We've seen a million losses. It is what it is. We come out every time the next week. We're excited for our team. But when you lose in that fashion, and again, we said 1,000 times, the refs were bad both ways. There were a couple bad calls against the Bills, roughing the passer. They called a random pass interference on a ball thrown to Garrett Wilson that didn't matter. And it's like
that drive,
and it extends drives, and you're like, what are we doing? So you leave the stadium, and it's like you don't want to lose like your love for the game of football, but it comes so close where you're like, this is just random nonsense. There would be a big play, the Jets go and it gets taken away for a flag. Then there's a random pass interference. The ball's 15 yards out of bounds. You want to call by the rule book? Then what is the ball not uncatchable? It's not 15 yards out of bounds. I'm throwing to fucking Yao Ming. So I don't know what we're doing, and it just wasn't fun. There were multiple plays. The Jets got the touchdown taken away. It's like this. You could not celebrate the result of a play one way or the other for 10 seconds after the play because you had to check and make sure there was a flag every single play. And if you're Roger Goodell and you watch that game, how do you not do something about that? You have to make a call down, not during the middle of the game. That's insane. But after the game and say, put the flag away. Why are they doing this, Matt? They're trying to destroy their own sport. I don't understand.
And they were completely lost out there, huddling up, trying to figure it out. Look, the more flags, the longer the game goes, the more commercials you can run. I don't think there's like a malicious. What?
I don't think it's that, and it's not anti-Jets. It's just insane.
I don't think it's malicious.
There are sloppy games. This was not one of them. The teams played well, and you called a flag on every single play.
I'm not a conspiracy theory guy, and I don't think it's malicious. I truly think they're incompetent. They don't know how to be consistent, and I think they're horrible people. Family, like they're horrible fathers, mothers. They're terrible. But
oh man,
I do believe that if you're a better team with a better quarterback and a better coach, you do get the benefit of the doubt more often than not. I think that we've seen that for 20 years, right? Yeah. Tom Brady gets calls, Patrick Mahomes gets calls, but outside of the refs, right? You can't tell the story of this game without talking about them. The Jets came out flat on defense and got punked.
Yeah,
as a defense. And what bothers me is when I tweet one mean thing about the refs, people can't understand that two things can be true at once, right? You can be getting punked on defense, and if they call a 3rd and 15 pass interference that extends the drive, you can complain about both of those things. But The reason why that loss felt so bad, Mike, walking out of that stadium, is you feel that you were robbed of what could have been a really good game and a fun game. And then you obviously understand the output of you're now 2-4 and you could have been 3-3 and you lost 3 very winnable games. And if you took that 3-game sample, the extremes is you go 3-0 and 0-3. And I don't think the Jets played that bad to be 0-3. I think at a bottom, you're 1-2. You could have been 2-1. It just feels so wrong. It feels like we've been wronged to be 0-3, but you are what your record is, and the Jets haven't played strong enough against inferior opponents.
Yeah, man. I don't know. You want to look back at that game with those awesome uniforms, prime time. First couple drives are awesome, going back and down the field against each other. And it's like, again, you make that analogy where it's like you're like falling out of love with something. Like it's so sad. Like you can't lose the feeling. And it was so close to doing that when you're just sitting in the stands and there's all these terrific football plays going on and you're excited to watch football. And then it's just there's just laundry on the field every single play. And it's almost like you're getting punked. Like after like the third or fourth time in a row, like the drive before the Jets got the Hail Mary at the end of the half, there were three pass interference calls. I think the third one was actually probably a good call. The first 2 weren't. And it's like the third time it happens, you're like, oh my God, it is there. What are we doing? I had a friend come and watch the game. It was her first time watching an NFL football game. And she was like, is this normal? And I was like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, this is insane. Like, this is unwatchable bullshit. I can't get over it, man. And again, we honestly do complain about the officiating a lot. And again, it's
never. We actually used to never complain about them.
It's not anti-Jets bias. It's not what we're saying. It is just ruining the game of football. And I was sick to my stomach all day today because, like you said, man, we got robbed of a potential amazing football game. And all I could think about, I want to think about Rodgers throwing a beautiful touchdown to Garrett Wilson in these clean, awesome jerseys that we saw growing up. We get to watch Aaron Rodgers playing the same uniform that Mark Sanchez played in, which is the coolest thing ever. And instead, I have to sit here and think about that there were, 200 yards of penalties that were accepted in a game that was not sloppy. What are we doing? Someone has to do something. And then I have to watch our friend Connor Hughes go on Twitter and say, oh, the Jets should have done this, should have done that. Rodgers, they got Rodgers so that when you're down by 1 score at the end of the game, you can win a football game. Okay, but you have to acknowledge the fact that you get a 16-yard pass to Breece Hall and they take it away for a holding penalty that's not holding 5 seconds after the play. It's not football. It's just random bullshit.
That was the second worst Connor tweet of the night. The worst is when he said that the game shouldn't have been close because the Broncos missed a field goal and we had a Hail Mary. And if you took what could have been on both sides, the Jets win the game by 7, right? Like it's very, very bad take from Connor. But yeah, Mike, you're right. You put so much effort in, you put so much care and investment, and you really feel at the end of the day that you're helpless as a fan.
You're helpless. We lose because of bad officiating and fucking 2 missed field goals, and especially when the special teams were so great last year. And it just is such a shame. But man, I feel
broken, man. These aren't fucking 58-yarders, 42 and 32, 35. Like this isn't it shouldn't be like that. And he also almost missed the extra point. I don't know if you watched the fucking replay of the game. Almost missed the extra point. I don't want to
watch the replay of this game ever.
And then I'm listening to the Jets 5th quarter show and they're talking about the wind. It was way left off his foot the moment he kicked it. Like it's not the wind's fault. That wind had nothing to do with him missing those kicks. He's mentally gone. And he's been gone since August. He was very bad in the preseason. He looked shaky. Doesn't get the job done. And again, I respect him for what he did in 2022, but you're making kicks during a year that isn't a Super Bowl window year. And now you're in it and you're missing them and you blink and you could be 4-2. You could be 3-3. And then that Davante Adams trade that happens today, which is awesome. It's great for the Jets. It makes them better all around. I'm getting a lot of tweets about Mike Williams being traded. I don't know what I can do about it. I sent him a sandwich. You were all happy at the time. Now you're mad at me. Fine. But the Jets got better. And I can't get out of the rut of feeling like, holy shit, we would be 3-3 in first place, and we have Devante Adams. We're going to kill Pittsburgh. Are we really going to go 8-3? Like, I think they can. They have the roster to do it, but we need to go 8-3 to get in the playoffs. Like, that's a terrifying feeling.
Well, you also could go 7-4. You can make it with 9-8 in this AFC. But Matt, honestly, if you said before the season,
can't be 9-8 because then you're dead.
That's true.
If you lose one of the Steelers, you could be dead. Like that's where it gets terrifying.
No, it's now our backs are up against the wall. This is essentially a must-win game. The good thing is, Matt, if you said before the season at any stretch of 11 games of this year, we would think we're going 8-3, and then you add Davante Adams to the mix, and now Hassan Reddick switched agents, and apparently he wants to be a Jet for life, which is hilarious. So maybe he'll be in the building. But
Fuck
seriously, Matt,
him,
if you
dude. Can we
no,
talk
he's a
about Hassan
scumbag.
Reddick?
He's a scumbag. But if you said you put Davante Adams on this team before the season, and you say, hey, what are our record in the next 11 games? We thought we're winning 12, 13 games. You think you're going to go 8-3. Like, that is what it is. You just got to do it now. And it's just so frustrating because they played well in that game. And that was the game that you wanted to see. They move up and down the field. Rodgers looked good. The run defense is suspect, Matt. It is. That's an issue. But we kind of knew that going in. Like, this is all the stuff that we knew. And all the games are happening kind of like we thought they would, except for the Bronco game. And you just have to win these games. But it doesn't feel like the Jets are losing the games per se, especially this last game. It was just not. It was taken. It's so frustrating. We just have to win a game. I can't do this. I can't do this.
No, it's bad. No, it's impacting. Like every time like going through a bad breakup, every time I like close my eyes, like I'll just see a plane in the sky, and I'm like, fucking hope that ref just the worst for him. It's horrifying. But the Hassan Reddick thing really pisses me off because he's a selfish individual who's a me guy. I don't care what you say. He hires people to intimidate business partners. Not a fan of him.
That is insane.
And now he gets a new agent. Oh, we're happy. We could have used you. Like, does one of those games flip that we just lost if we have Hassan Reddick? Like, maybe.
Yes.
Like, actually, maybe.
All
so
pro players are worth like 1 point a game sometimes. Yeah, we're losing by 1 point these games.
I don't want him. Like, if he comes here, fine, I'll root for him. You have to win me 2 games to make me feel better about you coming here. So Hassan Reddick, loser. Javon Kinlaw, a million penalties yesterday for no reason. The roughing the passer on Josh Allen. You cannot touch the quarterback in the head. They call it every time. And if that's the one rule that the NFL wants to be like, hey, no matter what, we're calling roughing the passer on ridiculous moments, fine. That's fine. Protect the quarterback.
Can't do the PI, man.
You can't do the PI and holding. You can call that on every play.
Yes, that's the point. We have to say what you're saying right there. It's very important to note what you're saying. It's so subjective. You can call those penalties any single play, especially the holding on offense and the PI. People touch each other down the field. It is football. You cannot call random pass interference and illegal contact 1,000 times. Please continue.
Yeah, and it's just the Vikings game, that second half really felt like the same nonsense where like, is that going to happen again? And you would hope that the Jets would bring it to the NFL and be like, look at these ticky-tack penalties, you're killing us. And then the next game, they don't do that, and then they do the opposite. It's the worst game they've ever had. And again, if you're listening right now, we're the most positive fans you can ask for. We're very much complaining about the referees. But again, you can't tell the story of that game.
No, this is so worth. Someone has to say something. I don't know what we have to do something. We have to like go somewhere and do something.
I want to go to NFL headquarters and just like cause a full on
just stop.
And the cops are gonna come and be like, what are you mad about? I'm like, they gotta be more objective in these calls. And like,
put the flag away.
Cut your arms off. Doesn't it feel really good to be a referee and say, hey, look, we're gonna let the boys play today. And we're not calling flags unless they're egregious. And I think players would respect the fuck out of that. And I think they would
NFL say something. Again, I swear, how Roger, I'm sure, is watching that game. And this happens more in primetime games and playoff games, which I don't understand. How do you watch that game and think that's okay? It is not okay, Matt. It is a disaster for the sport. I did it. I did a test. I had a person who never watched a football game watch the game. And she was, what the fuck is going on? Is it always like this? The game took 3.5 hours. It was disgusting. It was not football.
What time did you get home?
I got home at 1:00. I am nauseous. I don't even care about that. I'll get home at 4:00 in the morning. Just play a normal football game. Stop calling these. You can't do it. And they're so late. And like the Tyron Smith one, it doesn't have anything to do with the play. It's not even, it was barely anything. That's ticky-tack. And it's a fullback dive up the middle. The play ended in 1 second. And you're going to call holding on the left tackle who's not even near the play? Why are they doing that? What are we doing? What are we doing? I am so beyond upset. It's not fun. It was not fun. Lose the game. Lose every single game. Play normal football. I can't take it.
I can't stop thinking about it. I know if you're listening this far, you probably feel the same way. I can't stop thinking about it. And leaving MetLife last night, and I'm walking in the parking lot alone, and there's a guy in the car, Buffalo jersey, doing the "Let's Go Buffalo" chant, and then he's like, "Your team's fucking terrible." And he's just yelling at me. And this guy's 6'3", two buddies. They would they would physically murder me, and I just have to look at them, and I just have to just accept what I'm getting, and it's such a
Oh, and
horrifying
they're
feeling.
garbage fans too, because I was sitting behind some in front of some Buffalo fans, and I was being honest with them, like, listen, that I think that was a horrible call. I think that was a good call for you guys, blah blah. And they were being honest the same way. If you come out of that game and you're talking shit, it just doesn't make sense. The only thing that I talked about with fans after that game, the only thing of both teams was, what the fuck did we just watch? That was a waste of one of the what could have been a great football game, and it was a disaster. Disaster.
And it felt like the first quarter. I remember there was like 2 flags in the first quarter. And I remember thinking to myself in the seat, I'm like, oh, I'm appreciating that they're going to let these guys play tonight. And you can talk about the refereeing, but the Jets did not control what they could control. They didn't
I
execute.
disagree with you. They scored a touchdown on a fullback dive to go up 27-20, and it got taken away for no reason. And then they had multiple big plays in the middle of the field to try to take the lead or get closer for another field goal. There was another Brees Hall run they called a holding on AVT that was even worse than the one on the last drive. I guess you're right. They didn't control what they can control. I don't know.
Well, you
Garrett
can't miss
catch a touchdown after.
Brees can get in. Brees is one guy to beat, and he runs out of bounds.
Brees is fucking is glued to the sideline. Like there's like a string holding him on, even though
He
that's a
missed
great
2 field
run.
goals. Like those, that's what comes back. And again, if you make both field goals, who says Josh Allen doesn't lead them down the field, tie the game, or win the game? Like
There's probably
field
4
goals.
extra pass interferences after that they could have called. Yeah, it
It's
would have been
annoying
so
that
fun.
Aaron Rodgers had like 290 yards in with like 12 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Now he's gonna throw for 350. I was like so hyped watching it, and then of course it just didn't
Rodgers played
materialize at
great in that.
all.
I thought the one throw to Lazard over the middle was so ridiculous. I don't know if you saw the replays on
It's like under the arm.
under the arm of the guy. I thought he was terrific. He was making throws, moving around the pocket. I thought the offensive line played pretty well, honestly. I know Tyron Smith had a weird game, and Rodgers got hit hard a couple of times, but I thought Rodgers had time to throw. Brees had running lanes. The offense just moved up and down the field. Defense was disappointing. What do you got?
Do you know Deshaun Elliott?
I don't know.
Deshaun Elliott is defensive back for
Safety?
the Steelers.
Yeah.
And he just posted a photo of Mike Tomlin, and it's Mike Tomlin photoshopped, and it says Osama bin Tomlin, and he photoshopped his coach on. And then Dove Kleiman's like, this is disgusting. They played New York this week. Crazy
Why
to
did
post
he
about
do
your
that?
coach.
That's insane. Is it like a pro? Like, we're gonna go kill New York?
I don't know.
I thought Osama bin Laden had a problem with America as a whole, not just New York. If I'm not mistaken.
You like my Sean McDermott tweet last night?
I was gonna say the only coach I've seen photoshopped as Osama bin Laden is Sean McDermott, which is hilarious, but because he's insane and he's a terrible person.
I did the Sean McDermott booed and gave a thumbs down to the veteran of the game. And then one of my favorite tweets that I do recurring is when the refs throw a flag on the opposing team and then pick it up, which always feels like it happens to the Jets. I always tweet per ESPN Next Gen stats, the Jets have had the most penalties picked up on an opposing team in the NFL in the past.
Yeah.
And I find a tweet, copy it, add 1 to it. And I actually feel like it's almost at the number now because it happens so often. But that's a made up stat that people buy. Other people on the McDermott tweet were like, "Why would he do that?" I'm like, "Yeah, he booed the veteran of the game, guys."
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Matt, the Devante move, I do feel, and I don't know if this is a real narrative or not, but it just feels like you wonder what happens if the Jets don't end up making the playoffs this year. There's going to be a lot of movement. Aaron Rodgers got to be here next year, no matter what, unless they win the Super Bowl. It feels like this helps, no?
If you guarantee me Adams, Rodgers, Olu's your left tackle, you might get a new young offensive coach. If you guarantee me that, I can actually be optimistic, not thinking this season's done yet, but like we do get a mulligan because I feel like 18 days ago we're 2-1 and everything's right in front of us, and then 18 days go by and it's just nearly dead, like barely have a pulse, and that is a terrifying feeling. So I just keep thinking, get to 4-4. You have a 2-game season, 2 games on the road against 2 tough franchises. I know the Patriots suck, but you can win those games. You get to 4-4, then you start over,
Yeah.
and you just need to get there, or you just don't ever get to 6 losses. Just don't get to 6.
It is what it is. And listen, the AFC's weak, like we said, or it's at least a lot of parity. And if you said before the season, I would have thought we beat Pittsburgh and we beat New England. So, and if you're going to be one of those really good teams, like even if we won this game against Buffalo because Zerline makes a kick, like we've been talking about all year, the same game happened. We would feel amazing going into Pittsburgh. They're a good defense, not a very scary offense. So let's go. Let's go win a football game. We got to win that game anyway if we're 3-3. And you just got to do it. And then once if you win that game, you have to feel good about the Patriots game. And then there you are at 4-4, feeling good. So that was one of the things we talked about before the game, where we had some fans who are frustrated, not negative overall fans, but fans who are frustrated, who are like must win the Buffalo game. And one of my points was if you play well in the Buffalo game and lose, you still got to feel pretty good about the season. And that was before you got Davante Adams. So you got to go into this game feeling pretty good. And by the way, one of the guys who's been texting me stuff that was bothering me was just after the game, he's like, I feel good. We played well. I was like, dude, I needed that. I fucking needed that text, like 1:00 in the morning. So,
but Mike, why I still even like this is horrifying to say out loud. Even going to the game next Sunday, what if the Jets play well enough to win and there's a brutal call? Like I feel like I'm scarred for life.
that's
what
the
if they throw
problem.
40 flags?
That's the issue. And then it just that's where you lose. That's where you flirt with losing the love of the game. And that's where that's the saddest thing to me. It's not even I'm not mad. The Jets play well, and you're just like upset. It's just unbelievable. I had someone ask me if I'm going to the game in Pittsburgh on Sunday, and first of all, no, and secondly, I gotta make sure the Mets might be playing in the NLCS that night, like game 6 or 7. It's like I have like a pregnant wife that could give birth at any time, and I have to be nearby. But yeah, it's nice the Jets are on the road the next couple weeks. Of course, fucking primetime game again Sunday night.
And then we have primetime next home game against Houston.
And then your primetime on Halloween against Houston. So these games are getting exhausting to go to, losing in horrific fashion. If the Jets are 4-4, I'll be at the Texans game.
I will not be there.
I'll be there. It's spooky. Ooh.
One thing we didn't. I know you have to run.
Yeah.
I'm gonna run too. One thing we didn't talk about: Todd Downing in his motherfucking bag last night. Good for Todd Downing. Felt cool. Offense had motion. Guys were moving around. If players could have made plays and you make kicks, you score 34 points.
It felt like the offense was going to score every single time.
Yeah.
It's what we wanted. This is what we wanted. Now you have Davante Adams.
We saw Hail Mary in person.
Very cool. It looked like he dropped it in person. Totally did not.
You were very much like, we can't celebrate.
Well, Matt, this is after also the first half. Every single play, I have to wait 6 seconds to celebrate. They even called the Garrett Wilson first touchdown not a touchdown, which was a clear touchdown. Then you had to not do a real celebration for that. Then you see the Hail Mary. Finally, Braylon Allen runs it in I think it was probably the third quarter or maybe early fourth. That time I actually celebrated, and then it gets called back. So, we'll put everything on like a 20-second delay, and then I'll do a little celebration. But
I'm so happy I don't have to go to a game for 2 weeks. I'm so happy. All right. Have a good night, Mike. Enjoy basketball. We'll be back. We'll be more positive next time around. Davante Adams, New York Jet. We feel good. Hit subscribe.
We're in a good spot.
All right. See you, buddy.
All right.